Ronnie King Coleman is the greatest bodybuilder of all time. There is not much disputing that, but hear me out for a second. What if it was down to the torso alone? If you were just looking at the torso heap of these bodybuilders, would Ronnie King Coleman still be the greatest of all time? Well, probably not. Probably not. I think a guy like Andrew Jacked, if you just look at the torso alone, and I know it's difficult, so we'll fade the arms, fade the legs away. If it was down to torso heaps alone, I think Andrew Jacked probably would be one of the best of all time. And in today's video, we are going to do just that, except Andrew Jacked is not invited. No, it's not because he dropped out of the Arnold Classic. It's because he's not an Olympia champion. We are going to look at exclusively Mr. Olympia champions, such as Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, he's not the best of all time. Greatest maybe, but not the best. You know, the wheels are down, things of that nature, compared to nowadays athletes. But if you're looking at just the torso alone, Arnold has to be up there. He has to be up there. But of course, guys, the back is part of your torso as well. So this is going to put Ronnie King Coleman, I think, back into the equation. But let's face it. You eliminate those glutes, those legs, things of that nature, and no, Jay's probably not beating him, but it is a whole heck of a lot closer when you eliminate those just unbelievably freaky glutes, hamstrings, things of that nature. So, pop your popcorn, sit back, and relax. We are going to have a fun one. We are going to do a little bit of a judging system here. We're going to look at both front shots. We're going to look at the torso heap in the front double. We're going to eliminate the arms, legs, things of that nature, and the front lat spread. Couple of shots there. And to make it fair, we're going to look at both back shots as well. So a guy like Andrew Jacked probably wouldn't be the best torso of all time. And for my final act of defiance, I am going to throw in a fifth and bonus shot for the abs and thigh. For those of you who think the Olympias are won from behind, I'm going to give an extra little bonus for the guys that are really good in the abs. Now, what this is going to do, I think, it'll favor the olden days Mr. Olympia champions from 65 to, say, I don't know, early 90s, things of that nature. But without further ado, guys, let us have a look at this one. Because until now, you guys probably weren't sure how I was going to do this. This is all, count them, all of the torso heaps. Just the front of all of the Mr. Olympia champions posing in the front double bicep pose. And you can really gauge who has the V-tapers, who does not have the V-tapers. And I'm sure a good percentage of you guys know exactly who every one of these torso heaps belongs to, but for those of you who are new to the sport, I will definitely be listing all of these guys off. Number 1, Larry Scott, 65 to 66. Number 2, we have Sergio Oliva, senior that is, 3-time Mr. Olympia champion, 67 to 1969. Arnold Schwarzenegger, come on, do it! From 1970 to 1975, he came back in 1980. Mr. Olympia champion. Franco Columbu beside him. Look at Arnold's V-taper. Unbelievable. We'll get to that in a second. Franco Columbu beside him. Frank Zane. We have Frank Zane. He was champion, 3-time champion. I'm sure you guys can check the histories, things of that nature. We don't have so much time. Chris Dickerson. Not a bad V-taper on Chris Dickerson. A little bit surprised. Samir Banu. Now, Samir Banu I noticed in this whole competition, and sizing is not perfected for this big lineup here. We have all of the champions. It's not perfected. But when we do, we'll do little call-outs, things of that nature. We'll perfect the sizing. But having said that, Samir Banu has a very, very short torso. Could hurt him in this one. Lee Haney. Lee Haney, huge torso, but not the best abs. I think that could hurt him in this one. Dorian Yates. Look at that torso. Wow. Ronnie King Coleman, not going to say anything bad about Coleman's torso, Colemanites. It's not bad. It's not going to be last in line. Probably won't be first. Jay Cutler, not a bad torso. Actually long compared to Ronnie King Coleman's. You could see that from that first picture. Ronnie, a long-legged, long-limbed individual. Dexter the Blade Jackson. Interesting. Down to the bottom line, we have the gift. The gift, Phil Heath. The doctor. I believe he has several names. Doctor's not bad. Sean Roden. Interesting. Interesting here. This is 2018 for Roden, 2011 for Phil Heath. It's quite a matchup. Surprised at the separation in the abs for Phil. But anyway, we have Brandon Curry, and he has a fantastic V-taper. That's incredible. Big Ramy beside him. Now, he is huge. He is big. Midsection looks decent as well, but I think lacks V-taper. Big time. Hattie Shupin, of course, and last, but most certainly not least, Derek Lunsford. Now, for Derek, I'm not going to get on the side of, oh, he has something in those lats. I'm going to, for this video, guys, and there's no way I know, for this video, those are muscles in those lats, and I'm going to judge them as such. And when you do look at Derek Lunsford and his V-taper, it has to be one of the best up there. Now, as I reflect and pan across these guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger's really sticks out to me. I think Sergio Oliva up there. There has to be something said about that V-taper. Not a single gentleman. Now, no, he doesn't have that rock-hard type of abs of even a Frank Zane. So it's going to be a bit of a debate, probably, where I place these guys. But like I said, that V-taper, oh my goodness. Larry Scott most certainly does not have that type of a taper. And Ronnie King Coleman, guys, before I, lay this down, I'm gonna do it last call out to first. So we're gonna see the worst to the best. You guys gotta face it. Ronnie King Coleman in the front double does not have the best torso, but he won't be last. He won't be last. And here is last place, the last place gentlemen, three of them, beginning with Larry Scott here. Franco Columbo beside him, and then Chris Dickerson. I have Chris Dickerson, probably the best torso, believe it or not, better than Franco Columbo. Debatable, of course, Now, Larry Scott, I have him 18th place, so that means there's 18 Olympia champions. You could count the torso heaps back there, 3 lines of 6. Hey, that's math. That's math. Larry Scott, in the best arms of Olympia history, he did pretty good. Probably better than both of these guys. But as far as V-taper is concerned, he wasn't the best. Franco, and I could probably hear you guys now, Mark's Max Muscle, these guys have awesome torso heaps. Yes, I know, they're all Olympia champions. So this is your last call out. Now here is your second to last call out. And you can really gauge why I had to place those guys last. Because these guys are all Olympia champions. We have Samir Banu, we have Dexter the Blade Jackson, and Frank Zane. Now, I thought I was going to put Frank a little bit higher in this, but I guess not. And the exact placing of these guys, they're not going to win. They're not the worst. But I'm not going to say Frank Zane is any better than Dexter the Blade Jackson, or I'm not going to say Dexter's any better than Samir Banu. They all have their qualities about them. Frank has some nice etched out abs there. Probably the best in that aspect. Dexter, nice long torso there. Big flaring lats, things of that nature. Samir Banu, he'd probably win if he didn't have that gosh darn short little torso. Big pecs though. I like that. So next lineup. Now this would be places 10th to 12th. In no real particular order, remember that, guys. And I put these guys ahead of the previous call-out because of size. They are all much bigger. We have Phil, the Dr. Heath. We have Ronnie, King Coleman. I'm sure you Colemanites, you don't even care to hear a Coleman impression at this point. It's the midsection. It's the shape of the midsection. Keep these guys down from really winning. Other than that, all pretty good. And then you have Big Ramy. I think for the size of him, he needs a little bit more width. Now, Coleman does have that. Phil looks good too. But as far as midsections, Big Ramalama Ding Dong, Big Ramy, he would have the best one. So all the way along the board, it's a close one. You could give Ramy 10th place in this, and Phil 12th. Phil 12th. That's a tongue twister and a half. Or you could give Ronnie the win or even the loss in this one based on that midsection. Very difficult decisions to make, and, you go through this one 10 times, you keep changing your mind. Here is the next call out. Now, I placed Jay Cutler, Hattie Shupin, and Lee Haney ahead of all of those guys. Lee, for an older guy, he had a huge V-taper and lats, chest, things of that nature. Midsection, not the best. I like the vacuum pose, the shape of the abs, things of that nature. I would have placed him even higher if not for that. But awesome. Hattie, he looks pretty much perfect. Not too much wrong with this physique. Ditto with Jay Cutler. Jay, I placed him ahead of the other guys. He's big. He's really big, actually. If you ask him, he didn't even want to be that big. But he did want to beat Ronnie. And beat Ronnie he did. But not in 2001. And that torso heap from 2001 probably would have been even better than this one. Hattie Shupin, sizing, I'm telling you guys right now, he has a huge, big, long torso. He's just a short-legged individual. And those are the guys that are going to do good in this competition. But in all three cases, good midsections, good V-tapers, defeating all of the other guys. Now we get into some serious torso heaps. We have Dorian Yates, Sean Roden, and Brandon Curry. And in all three cases, they all just overshadowed everybody else except for your top three. This is your top six, I guess. And I suppose you could have this group here as your top three. It is that debatable. It is that much of a preference, things of that nature. I mean, for instance, Dorian Yates from Yorkshire Pudding. I'm just joking. He is from the UK, though. He is much different than Mr. Peeled, Mr. Sean Roden. But I guess it's your personal preference. Some people might like the separation of the abs of Roden. Some people like that just unbelievable V-taper for Dorian Yates. It's just standing there. No, he didn't have the best midsection V. But in that front double, it morphed into a perfect V-taper with those lats. I mean, he is a juggernaut. He could easily win this one. I kind of have him either third or second because Brandon Curry, I think he's even better than Sean Roden in the lats, things of that nature. Chest looks perfect. Looks good for Roden too. I like the display. But that midsection, you can either crouch down in the abs like Roden's doing, of course, or you can expand the rib cage, minimize the size of the waistline like your Brandon Curry's, like your Dorian Yates. So scoring this one, guys, gonna be maybe I'll just give these guys all the same type of score. They're all in your top six for sure. So who's better than these three cats? Come on. I think these three tigers are. We have Derek Lunsford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sergio Oliva, Sr., of course. And in all three cases, the midsections really stuck out, and I mean in a good way. All very minute in the midsections. And a lot of people say, but Mark's Max Muscle, Arnold Schwarzenegger, had a wide waist. Well, he was always standing next to Sergio Oliva, who would make anybody look wide-waisted, except for maybe Derek Lunsford. And there is certain shots, we will see the front lat spread, things of that nature, the abs and thigh, in which case Derek, his midsection is definitely not the best. Not the best. But when he pulls a vacuum like this, he has etched out abs, and it looks unreal. And I'm not going to go into too much about those lats, but those lats, guys, three-dimensional, unbelievable. They don't creep down as low as the other two guys, and that's probably why I'd put him third in this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he is a monster. He is huge. He's over 6 feet tall, and for a bodybuilder, that's massive. And his upper body was anything but small. Pecs, midsection, lats. But then you stand him next to Sergio Oliva, and not too many people are going to defeat Sergio Oliva in the torso heap. Now, I will admit, granted, he probably wouldn't be as shredded, and neither would Arnold, I don't think, be as shredded, peeled as a modern-day competitor. But this is, of course, guys, somewhat for fun. But honestly, guys, I think Sergio Oliva, I think he has the best torso heap of all time in this front double bicep pose. No, he doesn't have the abs. But heck, for a front double, you're not really focused too much on the abs. We will see the abs and thigh later. Where he's not going to win this one. But Sergio Oliva, I think, yeah, in my opinion, he has the best torso in the front double. Could you imagine, just for 1 second, we gave Ronnie King Coleman the win, best arms. Look at this little crossover. The Sergio Oliva torso heap with those arms. Yeah, buddy. Ding, ding, ding. There you go, Colemanites. That would be a physique. But we only have so much time. I know you guys enjoy these long format ones, but let us scooch on to the next pose, and to not get tired of the front shots, we're going to go right into the back double bicep pose. Remember, guys, torso alone, so there's no delts involved, no glutes. Really changes things up. And the first thing that sticks out in my mind, or my eyes, is Dorian Yates. And maybe for a dubious reason. He does not have the most symmetrical lats. Might be the hardest, grainiest, but not that symmetrical. As far as Arnold Schwarzenegger is concerned, this is an outstanding picture. I looked at many, many different photos of Arnold. This one is extra flattering, so don't really expect to see him first place in this one, judging by the photo. Hey, looks pretty gosh darn good. I think the back's really the middle row, aside from maybe the first one in the bottom row, Phil Heath. He looks pretty gosh darn good, but it seems like after Phil, the backs, well, Derek's looks good. But other than that, not the best. Coleman, he's going to be there. Lee Haney's back. Look at that. Pretty impressive. Definitely impressive. Arnold's, like I said, that looks good, but I don't know. I can definitely take note. Jay Cutler and Big Ramy missing some lower lats there. And when you look at the rear double as a whole, the lower back, I mean, yeah, it makes a little bit of a difference when you have the rest of the physique. But when you're just looking at the back, I mean, that's half your muscle. Here is your last call out. Poor Larry Scott again gets the short end of the stick. Larry Scott, Chris Dickerson, and Frank Zane, all three cases, their backs are good, guys. Their backs are more than decent. But you'll remember, the saying goes, Olympias are won from behind. And these are all of the Olympia champions. Dickerson, decent V-taper. Larry Scott, not much of one, but he has some nice thick lat insertions, worth to mention. And Frank Zane, he had a Christmas tree, things of that nature. Now we go into your second to last call out. Now this would be obviously places 13, 14, and 15. We have Franco Columbu, Sergio Oliva, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Come on, get to the chopper. Now, in the big lineup, Arnold's did look very good, but like I said, I looked at many pictures of him standing next to Sergio Oliva, standing next to Franco Columbu, and in all cases, his back looked small. And that's why I sized him as such. His back just looked small. I think he crouched it in nice and good to get all that separation, but he couldn't open up. And if you don't have it, don't hit it. But anyway, he does look fantastic and could very well say, or you guys could say, that he has the best torso heap in the back double bi in this lineup. But I don't know. Like I said, many pictures would have us believe that Franco might even have the best lat insertions, things of that nature. But Sergio himself, very wide indeed. So in no real order, guys. No real order. Now we get into some beef, some more modern day beef, and we have to be realistic. I believe that all 6 of these backs would just be too much in terms of width, size, and maybe most of all, separation. The big thick traps that bulge out from these modern day competitors. Unbelievable. Now Arnold did have some good separation for sure, but like I said, very petite, very narrow, and Franco had the thick lat insertions, but did not match up well in terms of separation. Ditto with Sergio Oliva, but Sergio, food for thought, one of the widest guys. And I did reward that width in that front shot, but these back shots, looking at these, a little bit different. Now, you could really jumble this up anyway. lat insertions, lower lat insertions, nice, clean, neat for the bottom row with Hattie Shupin, Brandon Curry, and Dexter the Blade Jackson. Now you got the top row, you got Jay Cutler, Big Ramy, and Flexitron, Sean Roden. And in all 6 cases, pretty good backs, nothing really too special. Dexter the Blade Jackson, he's pretty much perfect in this. Nice low lat insertions, Christmas tree, nice and tight, traps, maybe not the biggest, but they are very separated nonetheless. They look like big giant fingers. But he is the smallest, and a guy like Big Ramy, much wider than him. But at the end of the day, a good balance there for Curry and maybe Hattie Shupin. Close one. Sean Roden has his aspects. I kind of like this pose as well. Jay Cutler, food for thought, maybe the hardest, grainiest, but that lower back area. In a pose like this, where you're just looking at the torso, I mean, it makes a big difference. Definitely makes a big difference. So, very close and of some debate. Now, in my opinion, this is the best 6 backs in all of bodybuilding. In the rear double bicep position, that is. We have Phil Heath. We have Derek Lunsford. I threw Lee Haney in there. Not as hard and grainy as the other guys, but those lat insertions, I mean, spot on. Dorian Yates, the asymmetry is not very symmetrical, but in terms of hard graininess, I mean, take your pick between him and Lee Haney. Then we have little Samir, so little, but so very perfect. So very perfect. And awesome, I might add. Best Christmas tree. And then, yeah, buddy, maybe the best combination of everything. Very hard, very grainy, is Ronnie King Coleman. Nice and symmetrical here. I used 1998. I believe that was his best torso in terms of the back, surprisingly. I believe after that, even 2003 especially, it was not very symmetrical. And when you're just looking at the torso, it matters, guys. Now, Derek Lunsford, he's very wide. One of the widest guys out there. But it just does not look as hard and as grainy as, say, a Phil Heath. It is very debatable, guys. I think the lack of hardness would put Lee Haney out of the mix for a win, as well as the size, the lack of size for your Samir Banu. Definitely. I think it would go down to Phil Heath and Ronnie King Coleman, but you could put Dorian Yates in there as well, but unsymmetrical, hardest and grainiest? Probably. Maybe the best combination of the two for Phil Heath. But biggest, most presentful, Ronnie King Coleman. Wow. Best back torso heap in all of bodybuilding and all of the Mr. Olympia history? Well, either Ronnie, Dorian, or Phil. Personally, might go with Ronnie King Coleman. Definitely have some debate, guys. But so far, Derek Lunsford, looking pretty good for him. One of the best backs, one of the best fronts. You know, Dorian did all right in that aspect as well. Let's go to the next pose. We have the front lat spread torso alone. Wow, look at that upper row. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he looks pretty gosh darn good. Now we have a pretty bad picture of Sergio Oliva. There was many good shots of him, but the angle was so as such that I couldn't use them, and they were blurry shots. But it's not doing his front lat spread justice. Look at that center row. In particular, I'd say the 3 in the center. I'd say Dorian Yates and Lee Haney look fantastic. Bottom row, a little bit difficult to judge that bottom row. I would suggest that Brandon Curry, he looks fantastic. Big Ramy's good and wide, much like the back shot we seen, but not a whole lot of aesthetic appeal of this shot, I guess you could say. Look at Dorian's lats. Come on. Samir looks good, but looks wide-waisted. Big man's chest. This one, guys, is a very debatable one to say, I'm going to judge these guys, but I'm going to go out there and give my opinion on it anyway. And here is last in line. This is your 18th, 17th, and 16th position. Poor Dexter. And poor Larry Scott, as well as Chris Dickerson, always getting not a good shake in this one. But, you have to admit, width-wise, these guys, not the widest, maybe not the best in the V-taper, but in all three cases, a respectable showing in the front lat spread, torso alone. Here is the remainder of your top six. Franco Columbo, Frank Zane, and poor Derek Lunsford. Oh, this is going to hurt him. So as an overall, for your overall winner, it's definitely going to hurt Derek Lunsford's chances. Frank Zane, good and wide, maybe lacks the pecs of a Franco Columbo. So pretty debatable. Maybe the best balance there for Frank Zane, midsection. Of course, maybe the bigger chest for Derek. I don't know. He's got a wide clavicle, but I think his chest looks a little off in this pose. Here's your next call out, and I put all six of these guys in the same call out because it's debatable between either one. We have Phil Heath, Hadi Chupin, Samir Banu, Big Ramy, Jay Cutler, and I threw Sergio. I apologize, Sergio Oliva there in the corner. And like I said, take a look at a picture like this. Obviously, it was too blurry to use, and the angle was way off, but you can still see that he most certainly would have had one of the best torsos alone in this shot. Phil Heath looked a lot better than I thought. Lacks the clavicle width of a Big Ramy, but individualized the muscle, and it's a no-brainer. Phil, much better. But, shape, clavicle width. Jay Cutler actually used 2007 for some reason. 2009, his lat was a little bit torn, and the previous years, his midsection was a little off. So, surprisingly, 07, the best here, and actually looks pretty good. Chest a little bit off, couple of little bit of wrinkles there. Maybe he had gyno surgery. I don't know. But there is aspects of Jay that would have him be the winner. And you could say the same thing for Phil Heath with the three-dimensional muscle. Debatable, guys. Good balance for Hadi Chupin. Worth to mention, Samir Banu, excellent in the chest as well. Here is your second call-out. Now, these three front lat spread torso heaps are undeniable. We have, yeah, buddy, Ronnie King Coleman. Apologize to the Colemanites. Remember the arms, guys. Remember the arms. Arnold actually looks very good in this shot. This is the clearest one, and I also go through the repertoire of their shots. There was some blurry ones of Arnold that did, showed that he had an outstanding torso in this shot. And, of course, Mr. Peeled, Sean Roden. You can't deny him or his torso heap. Awesome. So, yeah, like I said, second to last call out. And here is your top three best torsos in the history, dare I say, of bodybuilding, in the history of Olympia. Anyway, obviously, Andrew Jack, unable to make it into this as of yet. I mean, clear winner, guys. Clear winner here. With Dorian Yates from Yorkshire putting, these lats are Dorian-esque. I mean, nobody could even come close to this guy. Unreal. Surprised to see Brandon Curry here. But when you look at the pose itself, I'm not too surprised. Keep in mind, he won the Olympia title with maybe arguably the worst legs in the top three anyway. So it had to be because of that upper body. And wow, Lee Haney, he has some small little wee waistline there and a great big huge booming lats. Or has some great big huge booming lats. Chest looks great as well. And that makes a big difference when you're only looking at the torso heap. So Dorian the winner, Brandon Curry, Lee Haney battling it out for second in all three cases. Chest looks excellent. Surprised about Dorian's. Midsection, all three midsections, and obviously the lats. And speaking of which, go to the next pose, which is the rear lat spread. And definitely an important muscle group in this pose. Look at that top group. You can definitely see the evolution of bodybuilding. Even Lee Haney, as good as he is, guys, he just does not have that type of deep separation in this shot. In the rear double, some of them could pull it off, but modern day guys, they have those traps. Jay look a little bit too smooth. And this is his best year, I'm telling you right now, in the back. Better than all of the other years. He's good and wide, he just does not have that impact. Dexter the Blade Jackson, small, that's going to hold him back, but other than that, hey, he can hang with the best of them, I'm here to tell you. Definitely. Derek Lunsford, here's a one back for Hattie Shupin, who was losing to Derek in the rear double, but he's getting one back. Like I said, here we go. This is an awesome little matchup between them two dudes. Be interesting to see where they land. Ramy, again, he's huge. Lacks that separation like a Jay Cutler. And ditto with Sean Roden. Maybe Brandon Curry, not bad. But you can definitely see the back's plateaued there. During Dorian Yates, exclude Jay Cutler from that list, and then Phil Heath, Dexter, and then it kind of went back to the way it used to be back in the old days. Very interesting. So let us quickly run through the call-outs, beginning with the last call-out. And unfortunately, for you Larry Scott fans, he will not be in the ranks and the runnings for best torso heap of Olympia history. Neither will Frank Zane, although we still have an abs and thigh to look at, and I expect him to do well. I think the winning back in this triad of destruction would be Chris Dickerson. Nice lat insertions, good pronounced traps there. Definitely some three-dimensional thickness. Not bad, but least in line, of course, are these three. Here is your next call-out, and it is very difficult, maybe even more difficult, to judge the backs than the fronts. Not a lot of separation in any case here. We have Sergio Oliva, Arnold Schwarzenegger, come on! Franco Colombo, nice thick lat insertions, I must say, on a smaller frame, but very good. Ditto with Samir Banu. Very short is this back. Thick, not as good as the rear double, but not bad. You can see some thickness. Jay Cutler lacks that separation, but he's still going to be big. Big? You guys like that impression, the Jay Cutler? I don't think it sounds like Jay at all. But anyway, he's in this group with Sean Roden as well. Modern day competitors, yes, but I think they're in the same ranks as the rest of these guys. Sergio Oliva might have the best back in this group. Maybe Franco Colombo. Very difficult to say. But not really any point of arguing about it, because none of these guys are the worst, but absolutely none of these guys are going to be the best torso in this pose position. Go to the next call out, which is most certainly a quality group. Second to last call out, actually. Brandon Curry, Dexter the Blade Jackson. We have Hattie Shupin, Derek Lunsford, we have Lee Haney with his width, but not as impressive as I thought, I have to say. And at the end, we have Big Ramalama Ding Dong. Momdells by a Big Ramy. Very wide is Big Ramy, but lacks that separation, much like in a lot of the shots, including the front ones. Hard and grainy, though. I think he's doing enough to defeat Lee Haney. Surprised Lee Haney, wasn't as good. He didn't have that hard graininess, much like the other guys. It was the times. Derek Lunsford, absolutely losing to Hattie Shupin here. Is he losing to Dexter the Blade Jackson? Is Dexter beating Hattie? I like the Christmas tree. I'd give Dexter the Blade Jackson the victory over almost anybody here, except for probably Hattie. Hattie's very thick in the lats. Brandon Curry, good traps and good lats as well. Very good indeed. Now you take those steroided glutes at a Derek Lunsford's back, and those big delts, and he's definitely not as effective. Definitely not. And that goes to show you how good his lower half is. Good shot, though. But in all cases, once again, very far from the worst. But I do not think, in any one of these cases, that they have the best torso heap in the rear lat spread. Now, one of these three gentlemen absolutely, positively does. Now, the lighting for Dorian Yates is Dorian Yates, obviously. Ronnie King Coleman, yeah, buddy.
And Phil, man, I'm Phil. I got so many freaking Sandows in my house.
He's got extras, actually, I think. He's got 7 anyway. But either which way, guys, it's Dorian Yates. If the lighting was better, I think it would show that he is just as hard, just as grainy as your Phil Heaths and your Ronnie King Colemans. Ronnie, I mean, this guy is huge. Christmas tree, massive. Colemanites at home, rubbing their hands together, thinking, well, he has to give it to Coleman. He's the best in this shot. He's the widest. Dorian's pretty wide, guys. Dorian's pretty darn wide, and he has thick traps. Those traps of Dorian, I mean, those are mountainous. Definitely 3-dimensional. And speaking of 3D, Phil is a pocket rocket for sure. Look at that small little compact rear lat spread. Easily defeating all others, except for these other 2 dudes. And I gotta say, guys, I think Ronnie Coleman has this one, but make no mistake about it, you Dorianites, you guys can hold your head up very high, because there are some aspects about this that I would absolutely say Dorian Yates has the best rear lat spread based on just the torso heap alone. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, guys. Ronnie, not even close as far as the lower half, glutes, legs. Ronnie, the absolute winner. But that is not the question here. This is torso heaps alone. So before we get to the final pose, let us reflect for a minute. This is the best 3 in the front double bicep. Torso, we have Derek Lunsford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sergio Oliva. And of course, the rear double bi was a little bit more debatable. We have Phil Heath, Derek Lunsford, Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Samir Banu, and Ronnie King Coleman. Look at those 6 backs. And then you had the front lat spread, Lee Haney, Brandon Curry made it into the mix, and Dorian Yates. And I believe if Dorian Yates has a good chance of winning this one overall, I believe. And then the back lat spread. Dorian Yates once again.
Yeah, Ronnie King Coleman and Phil Heath, man.
So there is one more pose left, and I saved the abs and thigh for the end. Because, in a way, this is the best one. Because when I hear the word torso, I think of the front, not the back. Although the back is very important in this competition. But I definitely think of the front, and when it comes to the abs and thigh, no pose is more exposing than this. And you get to show the abs, whereas the front double, you kind of do, most people anyway, do the vacuum shot, get more of a V-taper. This one also shows that V-taper, exposing of that, exposing of the lats, chest, has it all, has it all. And there is definitely some standouts here. And the top row this time, you know, they're not that bad. Frank Zane looks pretty gosh darn good. He's going to get into the mix. But this is, you know, it's bodybuilding, guys. I don't think he's going to win. There's guys that are much bigger, just as peeled. Very surprised Dorian Yates there in the center. I mean, he looks fantastic. Ronnie King Coleman. This is 05. I used 05. Some people might have complained that I used that version, but have a look. Have a look. I think absolutely Ronnie King Coleman's best torso in this pose anyway here in 2005. Lee Haney, I noticed Lee Haney. Good V-taper, chest, things of that nature. But his abs themselves, he may take some criticism, at least from me, in that aspect. Let's, without further ado, go to the last call out. Look at poor Larry Scott. Looks like a boy. Looks like a kid. And Derek Lunsford, awesome V-taper. But this is abs, guys, and he may have the second worst set of abs in this competition. With all due respect, I apologize, Derek. And Sergio Oliva, hey, he has bad, let's face it, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but none of these 3 dudes have a very good set of abs. But you can't win them all. Larry Scott, some of the best arms in bodybuilding history. Derek, Sergio, I mean, abs are their only bad body part. But anyway, we can't be too disrespectful. Take too long. Go to the second to last call out. And Chris Dickerson makes it out of that. Oh, that last call out. Wow. Not a bad V-taper. His abs are good and cut. Not the best, it's not like a six-pack, a perfect six-pack, but at least he's in good condition. Not bad at all. Now you got Franco Columbo. It is a good V-taper. Got nice low lats. Six-pack, not the best, but it is conditioned nonetheless. Little hunk of gyno there. I think that hit puts him below Big Ramalama Ding Dong. Now, why did I put Rammy so low? His six-pack just doesn't look good, I guess, with all due respect. This is an aesthetically pleasing pose, and it is just not the most aesthetically pleasing midsection out there. Not much in the way of obliques, and at one time, yes, Big Rammy did have a fantastic set of abs, but, he won the Olympia title with condition, raw condition, and less in the way of abs. And here is your third to last call out. We're going to break these up all into groups of 3. Arnold Schwarzenegger, not bad. Could use some more V-taper for sure. But he has a pretty nice, big, wide clavicle. And that definitely sticks out to me. Abs, not the best again. Much like a lot of these guys. But, it's cut. He has some cut abs anyway. Jay Cutler, a little bit boxy in the midsection. With all due respect, Jay. We love you, man. You're awesome. But he is sliced and pazzizzled. He is shredded to the diced. Samir Banu there. Not bad at all. Smaller. If he was bigger, I probably would have put him even higher. And that short torso kind of put him at odds on a lot of these shots, but he really pulls this abs and thigh off. Good six-pack. Not bad at all. Not bad. So he's probably actually winning out of these 3 dudes, but, in most of these cases, it's not really set in stone where I have them placed. Here is the next call-out, and I would wager to say, yes, these 3 abs and thighs are better. Torso heap alone are definitely better than that previous call-out. Phil the Gift Heath, the Doctor, Ronnie King Coleman, and great big Lee Haney. And the placings aren't set in stone, like I said. Phil Heath, in a way, is winning this one. Doesn't have the best six-pack, but he has some good overall condition, nice lats, perfectly drawn out there. Oh, Ronnie King Coleman, he's the winner in this one. Nice big wide clavicle, chest, huge lats, six-pack, not bad at all. Some obliques as well. And Lee Haney, a little bit more condition, I think he would be the winner. Big, wide clavicle, things of that nature. But his six-pack itself, maybe not the best. But then again, neither is the Doctor's Phil the Gift Heath. So close all along the board. Next call out, and these 3 are just about perfect. None of those other torsos could hold a candle to these ones. You have Brandon Curry, Dexter the Blade Jackson, who have been neck and neck in a lot of these shots, and Hattie Shupin. In all 3 cases, all these 3 dudes, impressive. All won the Olympia title too, food for thought. One time in a row anyway for Hattie. Could win another one, but very interesting how similar these guys are. Far from the worst, close to being the best, but in my opinion, they are not the best 3 abs and thighs torsos in Olympia history. These 3 are. And I selected some different ones, definitely different types of physiques, but in all cases, I just think they have something special. Frank Zane, of course, may be getting a little bit of a ticket here. A political poll for Frank Zane. Maybe. Hey, stand him next to those other ones. You'll see that Frank Zane definitely deserves to hang with Dorian Yates. And Dorian Yates, I'm sure some of you guys are shocked at this, but in 1996, he was shredded. From the front, the abs were awesome. So, yes, definitely gets involved here in the clavicle width. Then you got Sean Roden. Thus far, Sean really hasn't been mentioned in the best. He was close there. That front double was good. Front lat spread was maybe even better. But here in the abs and thigh, I think Sean Roden. I wouldn't say hands down, but I think Sean Roden, he is your best bet. Torso heap in the abs and thigh. So who has the best torso heap I'm sorry, torso. I was even going to label it torso heap, but my wife told me not to. She said it might be related to something bad, like a torso heap. But either which way, we are talking just the physique, without the arms, legs, and in this case, without the back. Sean Roden may have the best. Dorian Yates, he's kind of my personal favorite in this, as far as V-taper, lats, clavicle, just doesn't have the best six-pack. Not bad, though. Frank Zane, he is a statue among statues. So here's your 3 best torsos in this pose. Now the interesting part, guys, who is the best overall? And of course that means not just the front, not just the back, but a combination of all of the shots. Who is the best? Well, this is my opinion, guys. Here are the placings, the conclusion that I came to. And we're not going to go into too much detail. I mean, you can pause it and look at yourself if you want, but we're not going to go into too much who placed last and things of that nature. But you can see Jay Cutler made the top 10 for sure. Good all-around guy for sure. And in 9th place, we have Big Rammy, Ramalama Ding Dong. 8th place, interesting. Obviously, Arnold, back in the olden days, and he's the only one in that top row that made it into the top 10. Pretty impressive, huge, big V-taper, big man's chest, and not a bad back to boot. Lee Haney just slips in a victory over Arnold Schwarzenegger. Come on, Billy, do it. We have a tie for either 6th or 5th. I put them in 5th. Phil the Gift Heath and Hattie Shupin. Pretty good from the front was Hattie. Pretty good from the back was Phil. Both very good overall. It was close between Sean Roden and Brandon Curry. 4th for Roden and 3rd for Brandon Curry. I mean, from the front, upper body, those 2 guys, not many as good as them. I think it was the back development, which was not bad. In both cases, they got by, not too bad. They had an award-winning back. I mean, they would have been probably first in this situation. But obviously, in 2nd place, Ronnie King Coleman. Yeah, buddy. And the winner of this competition, Dorian Yates. And if you watched it through to the end, you probably would have figured that out by now anyway, because he was the best overall. I mean, sure, Ronnie King Coleman might have slipped in a victory and arguably both back shots, but it's close. It was close. From some of the front shots, I think it was obvious that Dorian was the better man between certain shots. So that equates to an overall victory. But remember, guys, that's just the torso heap alone. I do not want to ruffle any feathers of you Dorianites, or you Colemanites, rather. Dorianites are exploding in pleasure right now. But think about it, guys. It was close between them. There's arguments who is better between the 2, but when you look at the limbs, arms and legs, it's obvious Ronnie King Coleman is the better man in that aspect. So wouldn't it stand to reason that Dorian Yates has a better torso heap? I think, yeah. So Dorian Yates, overall, best torso in probably bodybuilding history. Maybe we'll do a comparison between him and some select other ones a little bit later on, but I think we have a Rolly the Beast Winkler arms alone versus the winners of the Olympia best arms, so we'll do that one as well. You guys would like. Hit thumbs up on this video. Let us see a nice round number. Let's see 500 likes on this baby. That would make my day.
Oh, come on! Subscribe to my channel, please, if you have not already. And if you would like to, check out my latest video as well. And there is a playlist if you want to really help me out. You could watch a bunch of videos as well. Have a great one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, come on, Billy!